A meningitis alert to tell you about. 2 people dead, 9 others sick.
If only.
The St. Thomas Outpatient Neurosurgery Center located at the hospital here behind me.
If only it had stopped there.
The investigators believe the drugs came from what's called a compounding facility.
If only it had just been a mistake. If only it had been that one place.
An outpatient facility at St. Thomas received 2,000 vials of the contaminated drug.
If only we had known then, all this was only the beginning.
Just as expected, the meningitis outbreak has continued to expand.
On September 30th, hardly anyone had ever heard of the New England Compounding Center. By October 1st, it was all anyone in Nashville was hearing about.
Motion carries, and the board has accepted the voluntary surrender of New England Compounding Center's pharmacy license.
There is a reason health officials used the word outbreak. There weren't just hundreds, but thousands of people who had received a tainted drug from NECC called methylprednisolone acetate, a tough name to pronounce with an even tougher diagnosis for patients.
And he said, my legs don't work right. He said, there's something wrong with my legs. He said, I went out to get the paper and I've fallen twice.
On a Friday afternoon, just days after it all started, we learned a 78-year-old judge from Kentucky was one of the meningitis outbreak's first victims.
Went through the funeral, burial.
Eddie Lovelace's widow thought he had just died of a stroke. She had no idea the back injections he'd been getting were contaminated. Lovelace was one of 36 who would die nationwide.
It mentioned nothing about meningitis, said nothing about contamination of the steroids.
Actually, can you come out and talk to us?
About the meningitis?
Then came accountability.
The gist of it.
How could this have happened? How could thousands of drugs made by NECC in a sterile environment become so contaminated that investigators found visible signs of mold inside sealed vials? Investigators believe NECC failed to maintain even the most basic standards of safety procedures.
On advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer on the basis of my constitutional rights and privileges, including the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution.
NECC's owner, Barry Caden, has repeatedly refused to answer questions about what his compounding facility did wrong.
My family is bitter. We are angry. We're heartbroken. We're devastated.
Behind the numbers, there are families and victims all across the country, like Judge Eddie Lovelace. If only, they'll tell you, none of this had ever happened.
I can't begin to tell you what I have lost. My soulmate, my partner.
Chris Conti, News Channel 5 HD.